All right, we're ready. What do we do when we do this? Ooh! Why are you booing us?
Rabbi, give me a warning next time.
Yeah, it's so loud. This is the time, I should say, for everyone who needs to cover their ears, please cover your ears. I'm preparing the decibel level to rise. It's not very loud, this one. I need to get a bigger drop.
Rabbi, I think there was one that was the contents of that. Did you ever-
Another one. Is there another one?
No, there's nothing's in there now. Remember when you
Oh.
emptied them all out?
No, that's the one.
Oh, I have some really, really big ones.
Yeah, they are, really.
What was I going to say? Oh, you know, Doug sings, so I'll mention something.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Let's do that again. Shabbat Shalom. First of all, we love coming and just hearing the buzz of people talking to one another. And I hate to interrupt you because whatever your conversations were, they were probably amazing. And actually, it's one of the main reasons we're here, to talk to each other after a long week, long year. It's nice to just be able to sit with friendly faces. Some people, like, we haven't seen in a while, maybe. And some people we just saw 5 minutes ago. But regardless, it's so nice. That's really such a central reason why we come together. And I hope also through the course of the service and this evening that you also get to know people you didn't know before. On our Jews of all hues, we always have wonderful newcomers, and we always like to see that. I'm Rabbi Alex, that's Cantor Frank over there. That's our streaming service, so that's why no one sits on this side. Oh, perfect. But it was so beautiful today. The sun was shining. I thought, those poor people that want to get their car washed. All right, so, well, this is Jews of all hues, and we're dedicating it to a lot of things. I wanted to surprise my friend Ganila. I brought one of her poems. So her voice is so beautiful, I would have her read it, but I wanted to surprise her. So please, I hope you forgive me for reading your beautiful lines. This is from a time when the Buffalo News used to run poetry. It was one of the few places in the country before the budget cuts and other things took it off. But Ganila was always encouraging me to send in. It's a wonderful venue. So this is called Coastline, and she published this all the way back in 2014. And it was a beautiful poem to start our service on a beautiful day it was today. It wears a colorful necklace of hand-carved painted canoes. 20 men wrestle the gray sand to get a boat to the turquoise sea. Boys stand in water, shouting to each other, wet shirts clinging to their backs. Pearly edges of waves mirror their white smiles. A woman carries peanuts and grilled corn on a large tray balanced on her head. She is humming and singing, her calves lean and strong. She thinks of tonight, the dark room, her man smelling of salt, the cloth by the door swelling like a sail, gently sweeping the floor. I will wear my red dress and the wooden beads that make no sound, a drop of line where he will find it. Isn't that so beautiful? It's even more beautiful when Ganila reads it, but thank you for putting that out there. It's beautiful. All right, we're ready for Bruce. You sat further and further away. Is this to like get your exercise when you come up here?
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. As we have some visitors this evening, what we like to do on nights when we have some new people is just a quick reminder of our safety protocol. Not that we expect any of this to come to pass, but if you need to leave in a hurry, if the rabbi talks a little too long or the cantor's a little off key, whatever, you want to leave in a hurry, you can go out through the door you came in and then go left and get out into Sheridan Drive, the front lawn, go right and go out back into the parking lot. We have an emergency exit over there, and we also have one up here. And we have medical equipment in the building. We have defibrillator, we have a stop the bleed kit, first aid kit. I'm looking around the room. I don't think we have any medical personnel in the room at the moment. Oh, we have Ronnie, that's right. And she'll be up on the bima, so she'll see.
And if someone is giving birth?
Yeah, if someone gives birth tonight, Ronnie can take care of you too.
We have Kim. Kim is also.
Or if you need a circumcision, she's ready for. Anyway, and Kim is a nurse, so we have a couple. We have medical personnel, and we have a retired nurse over here, and I know firsthand that Diane knows her stuff. Anyway, and any lawyers in case anything goes wrong with any of our medical personnel. Anyway, so just so you know, we just want everyone to be comfortable. Tonight, of course, Jews of all hues, Jews of Sweden, Gunilla and Dan Kester. Gunilla, of course, is from Sweden. Dan is Swedish by marriage. Gunilla is really well known in Sweden. I don't know if you know this, but IKEA named a couch after her. Anyway, we are looking forward to them, and we're looking forward to Swedish food. Are we going to have Swedish fish? Joanne, we should be having Swedish fish tonight, too. Anyway, it should be a very fun evening and very informative. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be back later with announcements. We have Purim coming up. We have Passover coming up. We have all sorts of stuff. So busy time coming up at the temple. Shabbat Shalom. Oh, no. I don't want to trip.
No.
Let's take a nice deep breath for Shabbat. We're going to breathe in all the things that we want to hold on to. Think about the special moments from this week, conversations or sunshine or whatever it is. Hold those into our hearts, and then we're going to let go of the pain and suffering and just the meandering of our regular week. Okay, ready? May this Shabbat be a time where we really can fully relax and be present with one another. We're going to turn to page 128 for Hine Matovu Manayim. By the way, you should know we have this beautiful scenery here. This is for next Thursday, our Purim spiel. And there's more on the back, these beautiful scenes. So this is sort of how it's going to be said.
I shall say that we have a lot of stage crew here. So we are, oh, Colin, I'm so sorry. Anyway, and we have a lot of Purim spiel thespians here too, and singers, and it's going to be a tremendous event. Anyway, our accompanist for this evening, just a few minutes ago, I wasn't informed, he is coming down with flu-like symptoms as we speak.
Poor thing.
Quite ill and needed to go home. So we're going to just sing along to some really simple stuff tonight and sing nice and loud and proud. And let's see if it truly is on page 128.
You got that
I did
right.
it from a guess.
You got
Yeah. Here we go, everyone together. Hine matovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
I have to say, they sound really good tonight. Kim, Max, and Ayla are going to honor us by lighting the candles and doing the Kiddush, page 120. And Max is in his senior year. So we're not going to be able to see him too much in the coming years.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We open our eyes and see the beautiful candles. And Max, if you want to lift up the Kiddush cup there. Kiddush is on page 123. Would you like to read us?
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, b'ahava uvratzon, Kinchilanu, Zikaron l'maaseh b'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikrai kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki banu v'aharta, v'otanu kidashta, Shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon kinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
Chaim, it's up to you. If you want to be brave, you can. And if you want to pass it on to your family. He didn't die, so that's good. I never know what Joanne puts in there. That's okay. A good one. All right, great. Thank you. Yasher koach. Now that we've lit our candles, I think we are ready to welcome our Shabbat into the room. It's waiting secretly over there where Erev is stepping out. Erev, say hello to Shabbat over there. Shabbat is going to come in as a bride through our center aisle. We're going to sing to her as she comes with L'chad Odi on page 138. We're going to sing the first, second, fifth, and ninth verses. Together on the ninth verse, we rise and we face the doorway. We bow to Shabbat as she enters, and then we welcome each other by waving at one another.
Pnei Shabbat
Nekabelah Lechadodi Likrat Kala Yadadai 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 Pnei Shabbat Nekabelah
Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad Hishmianu el ha'miuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad L'shem u'tiferet v'letila
Chadodi Likrat Kala Yadadai 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 Pnei Shabbat Nekabelah Lechadodi Likrat Kala Yadadai 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 Pnei Shabbat Nekabelah
Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor ha'bracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'shabbat tefillah
Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai yadadai yadadai
b'nei Shabbat
nekabela. Verse 5.
Hitoreri, kifa ore, kumi ori, uri, shita beri, kavod Adonai, alai nigla.
Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala
Adonai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'v'tzola. Toch emunei, am segula, boi kala, boi kala.
We welcome each other.
One more time, everyone.
Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Well, Erev, you did end up being the Shabbat bride. Thank you for. If you know, Erev is our longtime member. He's going to be moving out of town in a couple of weeks. So how wonderful for him to serve as our Shabbat bride here. So thank you for bringing that, and you did it with so much joy too, Erev. So thank you. We're going to remain standing for our call of community, page 146, as we recite the Baruch Hu. What a wonderful community we have together, unique community tonight.
Baruch Hu et Adonai, Hamevorach.
Baruch
Adonai Hamevorach,
Leolam Vaed. You remain standing, page 149 at the bottom. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. We turn to the Shema, page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod, Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated. We continue from Deuteronomy 6 on page 154 with the Via Hafta.
Adonai Elohecha ובכל לבבך, ובכל נפשך, ובכל מיותיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם רעות ידיך, והיו לטוטפות, וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך, למען תזכרו מה עשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Let's read together on page 155. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you're rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. So, Cantor, I've said these words since I was a child, and there's one part of it that just hit me right now that I never thought about before. There's something interesting, and you could hear it in the English, right? It's all to us as individuals. Almost everything we say, almost all our prayers are collective. And you come to the high holidays and other prayers, we pray together. All of the responsibility of our commandments is on us together. So, reading this list, I was thinking, oh my gosh, look at all we have to do. We have to do it when we're tired and when we're awake and with our hands and our vision. There's a lot to do there, right? It can feel really intimidating. I was realizing that this is kind of like a unique prayer in that way, that it's so personal, but it's also, these are the obligations I'm going to take on. And how beautiful that the next prayer that we turn to, the Micha Mocha, is a collective prayer when we turn to 158. We move from this idea of, oh my God, how am I going to do, you've probably all been this, how am I going to get all the things done this morning, let alone the whole day? And then you turn and you say, well, here's how. We're going to do it together on page 158. So you can read the same thing every single week, every day, and still miss kind of the essence of it. So let's sing to our collective spirit whenever we feel like, how can we get all that done? It's right here. We just join together and march together.
בי כמוך באלים אדוני, בי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך רבו בניך, בוקר יום, לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. ודמה Adonai Yaakov, ugalo miat chazak bibenu, Baruch atah Adonai, God Israel.
We've been reading the top of 161 lately. I think we could use a little more of love in this world. Let's read this together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Amen. We turn to the, let's see, page
162.
162. There it is, 162 at the bottom.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת וקוראי עוני שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי, שומרי, שומרי שבת וקוראי עוני שבת. V'kadoshei shevi Shabbat, kulam yisbehu, v'yitango mitovecha Shabbat, Shabbat yisbehu, b'malakutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat, v'korei onei Shabbat, yisbehu, b'malakutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei onei Shabbat, v'hashvi ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat, chendat yabim, oto karata Shabbat, Shabbat yismechu, b'malakutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei onei Shabbat, yismechu b'malakutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei onei Shabbat, zekel maseh, l'maseh v'reishi Shabbat, zekel maseh, l'maseh v'reishi Shabbat, Shabbat yismechu b'malakutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei onei Shabbat, yismechu b'malakutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei onei Shabbat.
I invite you to rise for our Amidah, our standing prayer, if you're able, page 164 through page 180. Take time for your own private thoughts and prayers, and whenever you're ready, you may be seated. page 177. There in the middle, let's just read together this prayer of thanksgiving. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us, so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day and night sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov u'shimcha u'lecha na'ed lehudot. We're going to turn to our healing blessing, which is on page 371. And I was just at the bedside of one of our dearest members, Max Sloan. It's not looking very good right now, and I ask you to keep Max, those of you familiar with the family, Holocaust survivor family, very vibrant. They own an antique store in Buffalo, and what a wonderful family, and Max has a wonderful sense of humor, and if we can maybe just turn our prayers towards them, whatever is going on, to allow at least some healing to happen. But what a blessing it has been to know Max, regardless of what happens going forward. I'm going to read our list of names, and then we'll go around, and if you have other names you'd like to offer, please feel free to. As a community, we are thinking about Gail Ackerholt, Neil Agnita, Paula Ames, Hope Bongiorno, Samuel Block, Sandy Canty, David Cohen, Evan Dennis, Chris Donner, Marwin Feldman, Stephen Glick, Andy Glickman, Lauren Goldhirsch, Carolyn and Ernie Grosser, Russ Grosser, who is back with us tonight, Suzanne Lefcourt Harris, Pam Huber, Kenny Jackson, Alex Katz, Ken Kellick, Granger Hugh Kelly, Marilyn Kerman, who just had a successful surgery, Tony Rinsberg and baby Maddie, Larry, who's also back with us tonight. No, not back. We can remove your name, you're saying? Oh, we can. That's always good news, okay. Renee Klein, Jill Colago, Remy Levine, Miles Levy, Gail Lewis, Joe Morris, Candace Mai, Pamela Niggett, Jeff Pratt, Stephen Rice, Angela Robillard, Cheryl Rossi, Cindy Rotella, Sarah Korn Rothschild, Brandon Ryan, Remy Schoenwetter, Carol Silverman, Max Sloan, Lorenzo Stewart, Andrew Sutherland, Enjo Tufts, Jen Ursaner, Renata and Wolfgang Toll, Marlo Vagarosi, Judy Van Horn, Mary Weiss, Mike Wheeler, Fred Weiner, Celeste Zacharis, Lauren Zeffel, Gail Zaretsky, Carla Bachana, Yosef Sissel, Chana Ezra Ben Shul, and Shmuel Ben Bulig. If there's other names of people, just raise your hand. We'll go around. And we'll add Doug as well. We'll bring all those people into our hearts as we pray again, page 371, the Misha Berach.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe There's those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
The complete healing of body and soul. May our prayers go out to where they're needed, and may people be comforted with our words. And we say, Amen. I'm going to invite up Ronnie, who is going to, maybe, I think she's going to introduce, you have a little introduction, and then we'll bring up Gunilla and Dan afterwards. I'm going to make this shorter there. Here, do you want to sit right?
I'm going to sit because,
Okay, yeah,
Is
that
that
works.
okay?
Yeah, whatever you like.
I mean, I'm short anyway, so. Thanks. Shabbat shalom, everybody. So, I can. Is this better? I am really honored to be welcoming Dan and Gunilla Kester with each of their experiences and stories to tell from their experiences as Swedish Jews. I'm sure you think of Sweden as a familiar Scandinavian country, and perhaps you remember learning that it stated it was neutral during World War II. We know, of course, that Sweden made many concessions to Germany, but what you may not know is that Sweden has a long and fairly uncomfortable history with our people. It's not surprising, as the majority of Swedes are Lutheran, and you may remember from your little bit of history of religions that Martin Luther didn't love us as a people. He wasn't a big fan. So anti-Jewish sentiment and laws were prevalent during most of Swedish history. In 1905, Jews numbered about 4,000, and in 1910, a law passed granting Jews equality. Till then, you had to really, it was very difficult to live in Sweden as Jews. There were 3 cities that you were really kind of allowed to live in, but that all changed in 1910. By 1920, numbers increased from about 4,000 to 6,500, mostly Ashkenazi immigration from Russia and Poland. And as noted, during World War II, Sweden stated it was neutral. It did allow for the rescue of about 8,000 Danish Jews, plus about 900 Norwegian Jews. From what I read, if I understand this right, it rescued about all of the Danish Jews. So full rescue. I imagine you may have also heard in your travels of Raoul Wallenberg, a Swedish diplomat who used his diplomatic status to save thousands of Hungarian Jews, granting them protection and passage out of harm's way. And then I hadn't heard of before, but I learned in interviewing the Kesters about the white buses. So the white buses were the Swedish government initiated the white bus operation in the spring of 1945, which was carried out by the Swedish Red Cross, led by its vice president. I know I'm going to butcher this name, so Folke Bernadotte? Tell me. It's okay. She's very kind. He was the Count of Wisborg and was a Swedish nobleman and diplomat. It appears that more than 15,000 prisoners were rescued from German concentration camps through this white bus program. Among them were nearly 8,000 Norwegians and Danes. Apart from Scandinavians, citizens from 20 other countries, mostly France and Poland, were rescued. It was never established how many of them were Jews, because Sweden didn't register that as part of their system when prisoners arrived. There are very many contradictory accounts in terms of the numbers of prisoners rescued, But, you know, lots of people were rescued. And every one of those people, that's a blessing. Presently, there are about 15,000 Jews living in Sweden. While noted that it was at one point an extremely anti-Semitic country, it's now considered one of the least anti-Semitic countries in the world. Actually, in 2019, I think I read, it was considered the least anti-Semitic country in the world. Incidents, however, of anti-Semitism have grown since October 7th. There was a fourfold increase in 2024 attributed to pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel sentiments in this past year. So why don't you guys come up? Because when we spoke on the phone, you each noted areas of interest that you wanted to share with Congregation Shir Shalom. Do you have a preference as to who speaks first? And I had written that you were going to speak first, so how did I know that? So Dan, please share with us your thoughts and feelings.
Good evening. So you all know why Ganila's up here, but you're wondering, what the heck am I doing up here?
Well, we like you.
Oh, that's a good reason. Did I swear? Sorry. What I'm doing here, it goes back, started in 1938. My father was 12 years old, living in his hometown of Wiesbaden in Germany, preparing for his bar mitzvah, which was scheduled for that December of 1938. However, in November of 1938, Kristallnacht occurred, which were pogroms instigated by the Nazis, where they burned down synagogues all over Germany, including the one he was about to have his bar mitzvah in. In addition, his parents' clothing store was ransacked. They had to close it. His father was arrested, sent to Dachau for about a month. As a result of these riots, several European countries agreed to take in Jewish children from Germany. Britain took in 10,000 in what's known as the Kindertransport. Sweden offered to take in 500. My father was one of those. In the first week of January 1939, he was sent to a Jewish boarding school in southern Sweden. He would spend the next 10 years living in Sweden. At the boarding school, he met my mother, who had arrived there about 2 years earlier. Also in Sweden at that time was my grandfather. He and my grandmother were divorced. My grandfather had been living in Berlin. He had a textile business, as many Jews did. And one day in 1937 or 38, the Gestapo came to the business, knocked on the door, and asked for him. The receptionist called upstairs, said, "Herr Luft, the Gestapo's here." He knew that was not a good thing, so he grabbed his passport, which he had in his drawer, went out the back door, left the country, and headed to Sweden, where he had business contacts. And my grandfather lived there the rest of his life. He died in mid-70s. He was only one of my grandparents who was not killed at Auschwitz. Anyway, the boarding school my parents were at closed in 1940 because the parents of the kids could no longer send money out of Germany to fund the school. At that time, my mother headed to Stockholm, where she joined her father. Her father. My father went to a Swedish high school then for a couple years, and then also moved to Stockholm, where at the age of 16, he was living on his own and supporting himself. He got a job with the Jewish community in Stockholm, where we got to know the Jewish community quite well. He was later working for the Jewish community. He was able to help the Jews who had come from the camps, like the white buses that Ronnie talked about, and help them get settled and deal with paperwork and visas and all that kind of stuff. Life in Sweden was good for my parents. They had a really nice community of other young people, mostly Jewish refugees from Germany and Austria and Czechoslovakia. They stayed friends with them throughout their lives and still in contact with the next generation, the ones, their children. Despite having a good life in Sweden, in 1948, he and my mother left for the United States. Why? Well, he had made a trip to the US in 46 to visit relatives who were here, including his sister, who he hadn't seen for 8 years. After seeing the US and crossing the US by Greyhound bus from all the way to Los Angeles, when he got back, Sweden seemed a bit small and provincial. It was also not easy to be a foreigner in Sweden. It was a very homogeneous country, very few foreigners at that time. Economic opportunities in Europe in general, were not what they were in post-war United States. At the same time, Stalin was going through Central Europe, taking country after country. It was not looking good for peace, and my parents, the last thing they wanted was to experience another war, which could have happened. So in January of 1949, they came to Los Angeles, where I was born 5 years later, and they spent the rest of their lives there. My mother died several years ago. My father, we just visited him. He's 99 years old, doing well. But both my parents kept a love for Sweden, both as the country that basically saved them, allowed them to survive the Holocaust, but also they loved the country itself, its beautiful nature, the culture, the people. As a child, went there the first time when I was 9 years old. We went, visited my grandfather, visited other people that they had known, their friends, and I also developed a love for the country. I feel like I grew up with kind of tricultural with American, German, and Swedish culture in my background. In fact, I love the Swedish people so much, I married one. Now I'll hand it over to Gunilla.
Yeah, I want you to know, if you taste one of the Swedish meatballs, we made about 300 of them, and Daniel did his share, I promised. I just want to thank Rabbi for reading my poem. That was such a nice surprise. Now, Sweden is a country about the size of California. It has 10.5 million citizens, and out of those, about 20,000 are Jews, as of the latest numbers, and 800,000 are Muslims, about 8% of the population, and these are newcomers, most of them. So when I look at anti-Semitism, which is an unfortunate reality in my country, there are 3 strands in the braid. There's the historic inherited anti-Semitism from Martin Luther, who lived from 1483 to 1546. He was a Protestant, he was a Lutheran, like Robbie already mentioned. He wrote a treatise of 65,000 words called On the Jews and Their Lies. And some of the themes he talked a lot about was how to burn all synagogues and all Jewish schools, that no Jews would be allowed to live where Christians live or own houses there, that we need to take away all Jewish religious writings and forbid rabbis from teaching, etc., etc. You can look it up. There's a lot to read. Sweden is a Protestant Lutheran country without a clear separation of church and state. Every child born in Sweden becomes automatically a member of the state church, pays church taxes, and the church handles the census. The second thread comes from the Social Democrats as well as all the left-winged parties, and we have quite a few of those, I tell you. They have traditionally embraced the Palestinian cause. They may read Jewish writers like Marx and Trotsky, but they are anti-Semites and they are anti-Israel. There was not that long ago, maybe 10, 15 years, a social democratic foreign minister led a protest in Stockholm demonstrating it was pro-Hamas, and she walked in the front of this demonstration under a map of the Middle East with no Israel. And then the third threat is this new, imported, and difficult to talk about anti-Semitism that has arrived with the increase of Muslim migrants. And you can see online that people from Sweden, they are very restrained in how to address this. We are a polite nation and we have welcomed more refugees and migrants per capita than any other country in Europe. The Pew Institute predicts that by 2050, Germany will have 20% Muslims in their country, but Sweden will have 40%. So, of course, many of these people came from Lebanon and Morocco when I was a teenager, and more recently from Syria, Somalia, Afghanistan, and Iraq. Many have reasons to hate Israel and Jews, or at least they feel they do. So to handle this influx of newcomers, the government built large areas with apartment buildings. Families could move into modern, clean places, but they were segregated, isolated. Many of them, for generations, never learned Swedish. So I want to contradict a little bit what you said earlier. Just to mention, about 20 minutes from my hometown is the third largest city in Sweden called Malmö. You might have heard of it. It is voted by Europe the most anti-Semitic city in Europe. And you wonder why. It's an old working class city, quite interesting architecture, quite beautiful harbor, industries. About 350,000 people live there. Out of those, 140,000 are now Muslim. And about 500 are Jews. So they say that 1 in 200 people who live there, or about 37% of this city's population, is foreign-born. And about, they have different numbers, between 1 of 5 or 1 of 3 of its residents adhere to Islam. So it's the most Muslim populated city in Sweden and in Western Europe. So about over half have at least one parent born foreign. And there's a mixture in Malmö of, they say, 179 different nationalities. So there's a lot to talk about, but if you remember the European Melody Festival, there was a big commotion because they wanted the Israeli singer Eden Golan not to compete. And they said, the people who arranged it, including our Swedish crown princess, she said, well, this is not a political event. She will be allowed to compete. And she competed. I don't know if you saw any of it. She was really brave. And there were people screaming, protesting, and everybody was scared that she would win, because we would have had riots in Malmö. As it was, we had a lot of big demonstrations, including, I want to just mention this one thing, Greta, you might have heard of Greta Thunberg, who became a very famous, what do you call it? Environmentalist. She has now decided that she is pro-Palestinian, so she was there screaming and shouting, and the police arrested her. You can see it on Google. So yeah, that was about what I had to say.
So I'm wondering if you could, either of you, and thank you both for what you've shared, very different and each very important things, aspects of of Sweden and Swedish Jewry. What is it that you miss the most as in terms of Jewishness, if anything? What is it that you think of when you think of Sweden and your intersection with your religion?
I think what I would miss the least would be that it was so hidden. I mean, I can remember my Shiri, you know, most of you know my daughter Shiri. She wore a Star of David. We were actually in Copenhagen, and it was right around the time when the Israeli guard of the big, beautiful synagogue in Copenhagen was murdered at night when he was guarding the synagogue. We went to a store. Of course, we would go shopping, my daughter and I, are you kidding? And the owner of the store was Israeli, and he took my daughter's Star of David like this in his hand, and he said, for your own sake, don't wear that here.
So I've never lived in Sweden other than a month at a time in the summers, so I can't say what I miss. But I do know that like I said, my parents went to the sporting school and had a lot of friends, many of whom stayed in Sweden, so I know their children. And I think what I miss is the ability to be openly Jewish and celebrate it and enjoy it that we have here. There it's always a little bit kind of under the table and they don't make a big thing out of it. And we once went to the Friday night service in Malmö, and it was a brouhaha to be able to go. We had to email first the rabbi and then wait for an answer and say who we were, and we couldn't just show up. You had to kind of, and that was to protect it for security. So I think I miss the openness in Judaism we feel in America.
So I guess it's easy to conclude then that even as some of us are more nervous than we used to be, and we have our antenna up all the time, the blessings we have here are so myriad. We see them every day. And I guess that's part of why we fight so hard to protect them. They're hard-earned. So many people have had other experiences, so I guess we have to be very grateful, and we have to, again, be on our guards a little bit.
I want to say it's not just Sweden. It's
No.
many countries in Europe. We're kind of picking on Sweden here,
Right.
but
Oh, look, I'm probably going to be in Nice this summer, and I will not wear my Mogen David in Nice. It just won't happen. It's logical not to have that. I want to thank the cantor and the rabbi for helping this fascinating evening occur. And thanks to Todd Sugarman, our president, for all the support he's given us. And especially thank you so much, Michael Berger. Without your generous funding, we wouldn't have had this Jews of all hues or any of the other Jews of all hues. We're excited that we got to experience Sweden. Last time we were in the East and we got to experience Vietnam. Next time we're back in this hemisphere because we are going to experience the Jews of Brazil. And we're excited, very excited about that. But get your taste buds ready for tonight, because Zach of Bloom and Rose Catering has made us a feast of Swedish Jewish foods.
I smell God's board.
Evie, thanks for being the best friend and best co-president a person could have. And I want to just tell you guys how grateful I am that you've made this program such a success. Because we do it and you come, So thanks so very much. Shabbat Shalom.
And thank you to Ronnie, who researches and does a lot of pre-work to make, and look at your beautiful kippah, which I believe has Swedish colors. Is that the purpose?
No,
It is Brazilian too.
It was made for me by one of the people who attends this every single time. And so I am honored that she honored me. And
Oh,
so
one of
I
our
want-
members made it for
Yes.
Ronnie. So just for next time Brenda Feldstein is going to present on Brazil in April, and then we're going to have a wrap-up in May of the entire Jews of all hues. The first Friday in May is a celebration of Jews of all hues. We're inviting everyone back again who participated in the past, and we're going to reflect back on 2 years. We'll go in a different direction next year. We just didn't have enough places in the world to go for another year, but we'll have something really good for next year as well. So thank you. Wow. It was so interesting. Each place in this world is so different. Why don't we turn? I just randomly turned to a beautiful place. So let's go to 429. And I know we have a mixed group here. Not everyone is Jewish or is Jewish heritage, but still, if you're in this room, at least you're representing that. So you can interpret this as however you like. Together, we'll say, I am a Jew because the faith of Israel demands no abdication of my mind. I am a Jew because the faith of Israel requires all the devotion of my heart. I am a Jew because in every place where suffering weeps, the Jew weeps. I am a Jew at every time when despair cries out, when Jew hopes. I am a Jew because the word of Israel is the oldest and the newest. I am a Jew because Israel's promise is the universal promise. I am a Jew for Israel, the world is not complete, we are completing it. I am a Jew because for Israel humanity is not created, we are creating it. I am a Jew because Israel places humanity and its unity above the nations and above Israel itself. I am a Jew because above humanity, image of the divine unity, Israel places the unity which is divine. And we'll turn now to 586 for Aleinu. I invite you to rise if you're able. I would open our ark, but we have a set in the way, so you can imagine the ark right beyond there. Page 586, Aleinu.
Aleinu Shabbat Laton HaKol, Latet Kedulah Yotzei Bereshit, Shelo Asanu Kegoyei Ha'arasot, Velo Shamanu B'Mishpachot Ha'adamah, Shelo Samchekenu Kahem, V'Go Rameinu K'chol Hamonam, V'Anachnu Koreim U'Mishachamim U'Modim Lifnei Melech Osnei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
On page 591. Adonai. Bayom ha'u, bayom ha'u, yeh Adonai echad. U'shemo, u'shemo, u'shemo echad. You may be seated. We turn to our Mourner's Kaddish on page 598. This week we lost a community member, Linda Franchell. A lot of you knew her from back in the day, and our thoughts are with the family. There is at Jesse Grossman's, their residence, I think in Kenmore, there is in, what is it? In Buffalo. There is a reception, an opportunity, it's not a service, but an opportunity to share memories on Sunday. There's several different times. I think it's around noon to 3 and 5, So we did send out the notice, but if you want to send any recollections, or if you want to comfort the family, it's one of the families that her daughter is a Reconstructionist rabbi, Raina Grossman. So there's a lot of pride in our community. We are also remembering Susan Solomon, who died this past week. On our Shloshim list from the past month, we remember Lorraine Medwin, Karen Nyman, and Wilma Eggers. We said goodbye to Wilma this week in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by her family. On our yard site from years past, we remember Willard Berger, Richard Bernard, Joseph Blakefield, Alex Brodsky, Joseph Cantor, Eric Duval, Benjamin James Ellis, Harold Epstein, Laura Fagan, David Feld, Leo Feld, Sophie Fink, Verna M. Fisher, Frederick Gale, Levi Reed Gartman, Sarah Goldberg, Ann Granemoff Crandall, Leonard Grott, Jacqueline Gogino, Joseph Gogino, Ann Goltz, Joseph Himmelstein, Jane Jacoby, Sally Jadd, Marvin L. Kahn, Rose Kaiser, Leonard Kaplan, Ida Kellick, Henry Kent, Marvin Kranitz, Arthur Lessman, Murray Mackler, Sarah Neiman, Philip Earl Olin, Nicola Piero, Rose Ricken, Evelyn Rosen, Dexter Rosen, Benjamin Rosenberg, Pauline Rubin, Joe Siegel, Sarah Sellers, Aaron Simon, Adele Singer, Gussie Spivak, Cheryl Steltz, Lester Strauss, Samuel Sugarman, Dr. Hyman Tatuski, Harry Wexler, and Hayne Westerman. Oh, a lot of friends on this week's list. If there's names that you'd like to say, just raise your hand. Yeah, please. Thank you. Any other names? Yeah. Yes, there was a terrible, terrible tragedy on Elmwood. A wonderful artist and his husband were murdered, and I think the whole community has been very rattled. Thank you for mentioning that, Canilla. Yeah. All those whose custom it is to rise, please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'alma divrach hirtei v'amlik malchutei v'chayachon v'yamachon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael v'agalav v'zman kari v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah v'rach li'olam ome'ol maya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudashah b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, damiran v'alma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlam rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom v'yimramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru amen. May the one who creates harmony and high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world, and we say, you may be seated. Zikronam livracha. May their memories always be for a blessing. And Bruce is already on his way up here to offer our announcements. Let the timers begin.
Last week was an outlier, just so you know. Robin's not here tonight. And Joanne gave me a the other Robin. Joanne gave me a really long list tonight. I've cut it down as best I can.
Oh, wait a minute.
Sorry, I have to edit.
You have to edit your own conversations after
No,
the
that's
announcements.
the
Just
part
read
that-
through the announcements.
See, she's using my time. You're using my time.
All right, start the timers over again. Just read through the announcements without all of them.
You're still using my time. Shabbat shalom, everyone. What a wonderful service tonight. What a wonderful service. Thank you, Dan and Ganilla. We learned so much tonight. That was really, really interesting. Dan, I've known you 100 years. I've never known that about you, the Swedish past. That's really, thank you for sharing that. Thank you, of course, to Ronnie and Evie for chairing our committee. Thank you to Michael Berger for sponsoring this. This is, as we near the end of year 2 of Jews of All Hues. What a wonderful 2 years it has been. We've learned so much about the world and our own members, our own community. So it's really been a wonderful experience. Thank you to everyone for being part of it. And thank you to Evie and Barry for serving as our service greeters this evening. And thank you to Rabbi and Cantor for your role in a wonderful service this evening. Tomorrow morning, Torah study, 9 a.m. It is at Temple Beth Tzedek, also via their Zoom. The Shabbat morning service and Kiddush luncheon is at 10:45 at Temple Beth Tzedek. We do have community religious school Sunday at 9 a.m. and the Genenu preschool program at 9:15. Thank you, Rabbi, for clearing up what that is, because 3 people asked me, why is there a picture of the rabbi's office up on the set? That is, of course, on the bima. That is, of course, part of our set for the Purim Spiel, which will be this Thursday night. It is wicked, and it is wickedly funny. We are looking forward to that. Very historically accurate. I'm told that there are knock-knock jokes that go back to the time of Shushan. So we're very accurate in our Purim Spiel. That is Thursday night. If you have not yet RSVP'd with Joanne to be here for the pizza dinner prior to it, please make sure you do so. April is going to be a special month here at Temple. It is Earth Month. We will have speakers, guest speakers at all 3 Shabbat services. On April 27th, we have a special Earth Day event. Tables from environmental and community organizations. We have kids activities, adult activities, and a non-denominational service honoring the earth. If you would like to help, we are looking for some volunteers, and if you have suggestions for any other organizations or activities, please contact Joe Morris for that. Our Tikkun Olam team is now collecting for the Ronald McDonald House this month. The Women of Shir Shalom discussion group will be meeting April 7th to discuss Miriam from the book Biblical Women Speak by Rabbi Marla Feldman. Watch your emails for more information or see Jill Hamilton. Also, the Women of Shir Shalom will be making up Seder plates for the Temple's second night Seder. Watch your emails for details. See Marina Finkelstein to volunteer for that. Speaking of which, our second night Seder is Saturday, I believe it is. Sunday, April 13th. That is here at the Temple. It is conducted, of course, by the Rabbi and Cantor. It is catered by Bloom and Rose. There are reservation forms outside the sanctuary if you would like to attend. The men's group meeting, which was postponed because of the weather, that is a really interesting topic about saving people's lives with CPR. That will be on Sunday, March 16th at 9:15 a.m. That will be Craig Small, who saved someone's life with CPR at the Rolling Stones concert last year in Cleveland, and Dave Cohen, whose life was saved by CPR when he fell and hit his head at a Philharmonic concert. Really, really interesting topic, and I'm glad we were able to reschedule that. Cantor is hard at work on a murder mystery dinner theater, Saturday, April 26th. It is being performed by Western New York Improv. The evening will include an Italian buffet, wine, beer, and dessert. Reservations are already being accepted. That is $42 each, and it should be a really good evening. I'm told that I'm the murder victim that night. Apparently someone did not like my announcements. Anyway, also upcoming, we have a bus trip going to Philadelphia from Temple. It will be July 7th to July 10th. Deb and Ed Fine are working on that, and Rabbi Alex, who grew up in Philadelphia, will be leading the trip, and that should be a lot of fun. He hasn't told me yet whether there's a Phillies game included or not, but we'll certainly look into that. Joanne, where's Joanne? She will be coming up with the final regular drawing of Chai Club. Then next week at the Purim Spiel, we will be having the grand prize drawings of $180, $360, and $540. If you need anything from any of us, please feel free to reach out to the rabbi, the cantor, Todd. Hi, Todd. Hope it's warmer down there. Joanne or myself, we are here for you. Please join us after the service for our Onig Shabbat, which is sponsored by Michael Berger, catered by Bloom and Rose, and featuring 300 Swedish meatballs made by Dan and Gunilla. At least Dan says they made them. Maybe they went to IKEA and bought them, but I think they're probably homemade. They're the real thing. Shabbat Shalom.
Just remember the World Zionist Congress. Voting starts on Monday through around Passover, May 4th, and it's $5 to vote. It's really important. We have 2 organizations, the RAC, what's it called, and Hatikva is the other party. So just vote for either one of those. There's more information out front. All right, here we go for 18. Da-da-da-da. Okay, $18. Ruth Wakeoff, yes. Okay. 36. We have Mike Millman. And 54. It's going to be someone in the room. Let's see. Laura Majewski. Oh, how Majewski. Wonderful. Laura's probably wasn't able to make tonight, but she's off in here. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Our information about the World Zionist Congress is right when you leave. There's a table over there. Ein Kelohenu, page 626.
Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemokenu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mi Kelohenu, Mi Kadonenu, Mi Kemokenu, Mi Kemoshienu, Nodel Elohenu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Elohenu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Hatahu Elohenu, Hatahu Adonenu, Hatahu Malkeinu, Hatahu Moshienu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. As you came in peace, please leave in peace and please return your prayer books, minus the leaflet to the front, and enjoy our own egg. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you.
The set is terrific.
Thank you for covering my butt on that one. I